Hey, open back. Well, yeah, open back. Welcome back, Open Pagan Church. Hope everybody's doing well. Nothing wrong with me. Morning, Discord.
Morning.
Good morning.
Did Cindy poof?
I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like Cindy poofed. Well, I hope everybody is doing well on this 4th of July.
Well, it is the 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still in the house. I ain't going out and all that craziness out there.
No?
We was gonna go down to the beach this weekend to go get some more seashells, and no way you get hungry.
Right. Yeah, you probably don't want to be off in the middle of that beach on the 4th of July weekend anyway.
No, they got too many crazy drunks out there. You'd be bending down to get shells, and somebody end up running over you.
Well, true enough. Well, I just hope,
To the beach after all that crap.
Right. So, our topic today is Pagans and Exorcism. Well, go ahead. It kind of, huh?
I said, let's exercise some of them dates.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder how many people even know the true definition of exorcism. Welcome back, Cindy. I mean, if you can look it up, and on dictionary.com it says the act or process of exercising, and we're not talking about working out in the gym.
You ain't doing no calisthenics.
Right. Also says the ceremony or the formula used for exercising. So I find it interesting that they don't actually give. Okay, here we go. If you actually click on exercise, right? And again, I'm not talking about the kind of exercise you do in the gym. Says here to seek to expel, in brackets, an evil spirit by adjuration. And I'm not kidding, that's the word. ADJURATION.
Yeah.
Adjuration.
Yeah.
It kind of calls it a religious or solemn ceremony. To free a person or place, etc., of evil spirits or malignant influences. So, what are y'all's thoughts on exorcism?
Well, we use that term rather loosely as far as you exercise someone's demons.
Right.
That the spiritual demons, that could be emotional demons, that could be physical demons, as in drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, sex.
Right. Hey, now leave sex alone.
No, for some people, sex is a very potent addiction.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, sure would. You just got old, Bart.
Uh-huh. I did. Yep. I think the older I get, the safer I get.
Amen. And so does everybody else.
I ain't now. I ain't all that bad. I've mellowed through the years.
Oh, dog. But yeah, we, like I said, we use that term rather loosely.
Well, yeah, we do. But the the interesting part behind exorcism is even when you talk to most Christians, they don't know what a true exorcism is.
No, they really don't.
I mean, exorcism has nothing to do with the movie The Exorcist, any of them. And it does, huh?
A demon doesn't manifest itself into a small child and spits green pea soup all over the place.
No,
I'm not saying that can't happen.
right. Well,
But when we speak possessing a body, it's more of a, or I put it, more of a mental state than an actual physical manifestation.
well, see, and a lot of people misinterpret uh, it's real easy to confuse someone with mental issues from someone who may presume they've been possessed.
Yeah, because the symptoms are very similar.
And, one first has to understand the term possession. If we want to get down and jiggy with it, my coffee mug has been possessed by me. Um, some people have accused me of possessing other people. I'm like, I'm not that damn powerful. Number one, I don't want to be.
Your coffee cup has been possessed by your coffee.
But
Well,
uh-huh.
in Christianity, in Catholicism, let me rephrase that, not to confuse everybody.
Yeah, big difference.
Priests that do what we call a priest that is an exorcist
Right.
is more in tune with a therapist, a psychologist
Mm-hmm.
who also studies demonology. So he knows the difference between mental illness and a true demon possession.
So I have
They
a
don't take it very, they don't take it like a grain of salt and say everybody that's exhibiting strange behavior is possessed by the demons like they did back in the Stone Age.
I started to say they don't as much today as they did back in the 14, 15, and 1600s.
Right. But back then we weren't enlightened.
Well, in a sense, we were more enlightened because we believed in more spiritual things then than we do now.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was too much ignorance, which we can, you know, we can quote physicians that bled their patients because they had a cold.
Well,
Yeah.
it was ignorance mixed with goo gobs of fanaticism.
Right. So I definitely would not call the Middle Ages a more spiritual time in most aspects. And again, you know, this is one of those rabbit holes that we could go down where I've heard some people say what they would give to go back to the 50s and 60s, and I'm like, hell no. I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. I'm a 60s and 70s kid. I
The 70s and 80s weren't bad.
80s things were kind of trying to get on a more even kill, although so far the 2000s has not been real good. Although, let's, you know, get back on exorcism. Um, you know, you've got the Catholics on the Catholic side, you've got the shamans on the pagan side.
Ahem.
And a witch.
Well, hang on, let me finish. We're not a whole lot different when it comes to counseling, watching people that say that they may be possessed. Um, you know, especially all of us in the pagan community, witches, shamans, fae alike, and druids, we get people that come to us all the time going, I've been possessed with a black spirit, man. You need to fix me. I've been possessed. Well, my first question is what leads you to believe that you've been possessed? What is a possession? And this is where we were going a while ago. What is it to possess someone?
Acquire control of. You hear me?
Well,
Did you hear him?
kind of.
To acquire control of.
Okay.
Yeah. To take control over one's ability to do for themselves.
In a general sense, to control, period. It doesn't matter. It can be physical, mental, emotional.
Taking away free will, in other words.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean the American government?
Yeah, well, yeah.
All right, now you said it, I didn't, but okay.
Government, period. Well, it's
Yeah,
a
they take away our free will. So in a sense, they
yeah.
possess us.
Well,
As,
in all
as
reality, a possession, by definition, is when a spirit takes over a person, place, or thing. An exorcism of that is to cast out or cast away the benign or spirit or evil spirit, whatever your interpretation of evil is, to cast it out, to get rid of it. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing on that.
Oh, um, when we're thinking about what is it to possess someone, I mean, we could go down the presumption that multiple personalities then by definition would be a form of possession because it you know, like I said a while ago, it takes away a person's free will.
In the broader sense of the word, yes.
Okay.
Personalities is a psychological disease, I guess you'd say, affliction that can be controlled. I don't know if it's not something that can be healed. It can't be taken away, but it can be controlled.
Right, right. And there are times. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. Um, there are times where multiple personalities can be merged back together through years and years of psychological interaction. But to to perform an exorcism willy nilly on someone just because, I mean, that would have been between the 13 and the 1800s, really.
Anybody with epilepsy that suffered epilepsy was considered demon possessed.
Correct. Yeah.
And in the process of trying to exorcise the demons, well, they ended up killing the people because they choke on their own tongues.
Right.
So we're schizophrenics.
Yeah.
Yeah, granted.
Schizophrenic, bipolar, you know, all the above. Schizophrenic. There were a shitload of schizophrenics that were incorrectly diagnosed as being possessed. And like Lester said, you know, epilepsy was a big one up until what, early to mid 1900s, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, epilepsy, I'd say up until the 1940s and 50s, it was still considered a form of possession.
Right, right. That's what I meant by the mid 1900s.
Right. You know, because until we advanced medically and didn't understand, we came to the understanding of what epilepsy was a person with a demon inside of it. So they would tie the patient down and start the exorcism right. Well,
Right.
in the process of the struggling, the person would go into an epileptic fit, and which is,
Well, yeah, it'd make it worse.
makes it worse. And well, those people would die, and then of course it got a bad rap, and
Yeah, well,
that's
I
when
mean,
the Catholic Church basically put an end to what was known as the freedom of exorcism, where anybody could go in and say, "Hey, I need this person exorcised. They have a demon in them."
yeah,
Then they have a private council that goes in and evaluates the situation and determines whether or not they need a psychiatrist, they need a mental facility, or
right.
they need to be exercised.
And
So
see
it's not willy nilly anymore.
right, right. And I mean, the same thing exists in the pagan ideology for the most part. I mean, you do have your pagan sects out there that, you know, they're perfectly willing to charge someone $100 and or 150 or 200 or 300 or $400 and come in and do a quote exorcism on someone in their home when we all know most of that is placebo effect.
Epilepsy was discovered in the 1700s.
Huh?
Epilepsy was discovered in the 1700s.
1700s, okay. But even still, in the early to mid 1900s, guys, epilepsy was still considered a mental, spiritual illness, But there were many people. I mean, of course, it's not so much today with global communication being what it is. I think for as much as the internet has hurt the spiritual foundation of people, I think the internet has actually helped more people be able to build a stronger spiritual foundation simply because of, the technology and the ability to communicate. Come on, I mean, 10 or 15, 10 years ago, we didn't have the ability to live stream like this. I mean, 10 years ago, I was still uploading thoughts for the day. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what do you say?
Modem sound.
Modems. When you
Yeah.
connect to the internet, you have to
Oh,
dial
yeah.
in.
Dial up.
Yeah.
Boy, do I not want to remember those days. But,
Kids nowadays go, what the hell is that?
right. Now, if we talk about. Okay, so let's talk about spiritual possession. As a pagan minister and a practitioner of shamanism, when I'm working with a client and spirit guide is working through me to help the client, is that not a form of possession by definition?
By definition, yes, but by practice, no. And the reason I say that is because in a possession, you're actually giving over yourself to that spirit to help intercede. But a person who is possessed does not have that willpower.
Well, there's forms of possession in Christianity too.
Well, yeah, but and that's kind of sort of what we're talking about. All right, so let's think about the religious sects of people that believe in the speaking of tongues that are, and I quote, by the preacher, possessed by the Holy Spirit.
Exactly.
Right. But that is a process of opening oneself up willingly to it.
But it's still possession.
It's considered possession in the clinical sense of the word, yes.
Okay.
But it's of free will.
Okay.
Now, in a demonic possession, there is no free will. The person who, well, I mean, I say there isn't. There might be. Some people will say, well, let's channel a demon and let's
Exactly.
stir some shit.
You know, every person that I have ever encountered that supposedly needed to be excised or exorcised or have an exorcism performed, every person I've ever encountered, they unknowingly or stupidly invited in a spirit by the stupid ass phrase of, I open myself up, someone help me. Some spirit somewhere come and save me. Well, you're opening your ass wide open for whatever happens to be out there that wants to go, you're tuck. Thoughts?
In a sense, that's giving yourself over to that spirit, whether it's a good spirit or a bad spirit. Yes,
Right.
it's a free will, a matter of free will there. But most possessions take place in people who don't realize they're doing that.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of possession is rare.
Right.
Therein lies education, which is one of the, and you guys don't decapitate me, but this is one of the rare instances where I do agree with the Catholic Church. in having performed myself these situations, I have always set and counseled the individual asking the right questions. And it generally doesn't happen in the first hour or two of meeting. I mean, yeah, okay, if your bullshit meter goes clear off the scale, there's got to be a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if if we're talking about somebody that has been truly subconsciously or consciously possessed by a spirit, whether it good, bad, or indifferent, against their will, it's, in my experience, is more like an addiction, because you have to be willing to admit there's a problem. And then you have to be willing to do what it takes to fix said problem.
Well, I will say this much: the movie that we all know and love, The Exorcist,
Well, I don't know about
is
love.
a sensationalized movie, but it is based on truth. And the person that was possessed in true life was a small boy, it wasn't a girl.
Right.
And the exorcism was performed by one of the top exorcists in the Catholic faith, who did die in the process. He suffered a massive coronary during the ceremony.
Yeah.
But playing the devil's advocate,
The determination on that case, in the eyes of the Catholic Church, was that the child was possessed by a demon spirit. Now, a child of that age doesn't give permission to a demon to come into it.
right?
So it was I guess you would consider it was an accidental possession. So, but we're also forgetting that it's not that need to be exorcised. Homes, items,
Yep.
all take in a noxious spirit and need to be exorcised.
Well, they also absorb the energy of the people that live in them and around them and use them.
Right.
I mean, how many times have I been called on to cleanse a piece of furniture because something moved in with it? How many times have I been asked to cleanse a home because of either illness, anger,
A portal.
a portal that some ding dong opened?
Yep.
Or cast that somebody forgot to close out.
Right. But it comes more, I think, like everything else. It comes down to educating the community. You know, if we look at the average, right, and I'm not gonna throw any numbers out, but I'm just gonna give a presumed average. If we look at an average, an educated family, whether it be heterosexual or homosexual or whatever, it doesn't matter, an educated family will in turn, most of the time, raise educated children. Now,
Yes.
I'm not,
Yeah, you would hope.
well, yeah. And I'm not necessarily talking about book education because we all know that somebody that only possesses a book education with zero life experience has no wisdom to share. But of course, as the child grows older, the only thing we can give them is the tools to make good decisions for them, right?
Right.
So if you take a child that is raised in a very, very repressive situation, and I'm being very careful how I say this because I don't want to get hornswoggled later when somebody else watches the pre recorded program. But if you take you're fine. If you take a child that is raised in a uneducated, highly repressive, very angry, abusive situation, and I realize we could take each one of those and break them down to the nth degree, but when you have a radicalist environment that encompasses all these things, do you not give the child a predisposition to possession?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not talking about 100% of the cases, of course. But through the years, I have spent a numerous amounts of hours researching possession. And I even researched the case in which you're talking about, Lester, the one that the movie was written off of.
Yeah.
I watched a boatload of documentaries on both sides, all right, those for and those against. And when I was first getting into my path and into all of this, I wanted to have a better understanding from more of a science perspective, I guess one could say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of the weirdos that believes science and religion should run together because they support each other. Or at least that's always been my experience.
Yeah.
You know, if you take a spiritual scientist versus a scientist that is just simply strictly hardcore science, or you take a spiritualist that is just simply strictly hardcore spiritualist, both of these people are going to be very short-sighted when it comes to anything outside of their realm of understanding.
True.
So, to answer one of the questions in the description, is exorcism real?
Has anybody ever seen one that's in chat?
Not that I could prove was an actual spiritual possession.
Me neither.
No, I've never actually witnessed a exorcism. I've spoken with a priest that did exorcisms before.
Well, has anyone ever met anyone that they felt were truly 100% possessed by an evil spirit or was it more a mental issue?
Well, 99% of the time it's the mental issue, but
Right.
there are some folks out there that just exude pure evil.
Well, there is that. I mean,
Whether or not they're possessed or not, and it's just their character.
right. I
I don't
mean,
know.
there's no exorcism in the world that'll fix, pure evil.
Hitler, Stalin, Napoleon.
I mean, hell. Take a look at Jeffrey Dahmer's pictures. The man had no soul in his eyes.
Yeah, he was.
Charles.
Yeah, Charles Manson. Was the other one I was trying to remember. Thanks, Paul. I mean, if you take a look at the people that have committed mass atrocities through the years,
Jim Jones.
oh boy. Now, I'm not even talking about religious atrocities. I'm talking about mass murders.
Well, that was.
One main name.
I mean, look, the other guy that in Oklahoma.
Oh, the Unabomber?
No.
Koresh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
David Koresh.
Yeah,
David Koresh.
that's it. That's it.
They're psychotic.
They
They use their so-called faith to end up killing all these people or talking these people into killing themselves.
right. Yeah, nobody's home.
That's not necessarily possession. I mean, he possessed
Oh,
them.
they're psychotic.
Yeah,
Right. And he possessed them.
In a sense, yes.
right.
Hitler possessed an entire country.
Yeah,
Well,
by definition, yeah. By definition, you're right. But that is still not. Hitler wasn't a spirit possession.
No, he was just fucking crazy.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
David Koresh was not a spirit possession.
Neither was Jim Jones.
Right. Neither was any of the quote.
Now,
You know.
now we don't know about Charles because
we don't know that for a fact. They could have been possessed,
that's true.
Yeah,
believing that they were hearing God.
right. But I'm talking about one human cannot possess another human. By definition of possession.
Not spiritually.
Correct.
Not in the demon definition. No.
I mean, if you want to talk about a possession of stupid, well,
happens every day.
let's take a look at society, most especially over the last 5 to 8 years. Society has gone batshit crazy. Well, they're not spiritually possessed. They're possessed by dumbass. Sorry, fact is a fact. It is what it is. But
that is a demon.
They say that humans are spiritually defunct, not possessed.
Right. Right. Well, can you exorcise someone that is possessed by stupidity?
No.
Yeah, it's called school.
It's called
No,
school.
it's not.
Yeah, you can't fix stupid.
Yeah, no, you can't.
It's stupid.
But-
Ignorance, yes. Stupidity, no.
Right. And, but how, and I know from over 25 years of experience for myself, how to tell the difference between someone who is psychologically imbalanced emotionally distraught. Hang on, let me finish.
Okay.
Someone who is psychologically imbalanced, emotionally distraught. Someone who has been lied to and misled to the point where they believe something that isn't true, and someone who may be truly spiritually possessed. And given a little time, it's not that hard to tell the difference. It really isn't. I mean, it is when you first meet somebody because, you got to get to know the subject. What do y'all think about that? I mean, I know that everybody that's in Discord right now has had enough experience in the spiritual community, whether it's Christian, Catholic, pagan, whatever, has had enough experience in the spiritual community that may have been approached in the past by someone claiming to be possessed. Now, whether or not they were is not the question. How many times have you been approached by someone claiming to be possessed? Anybody? Anybody in chat? Anybody watching our broadcast? Oh, come on. You guys have never been this quiet.
No, I have never.
Lester can tell you I've been approached by more than one. And of course, on every one of those, Lester and I looked at each other and shook our heads because our bullshit meter went clear off the scale. Right. And there were those that were so psychologically, emotionally imbalanced. That you would have thought they were possessed just simply by their actions. I dated a couple of them. Shut up, Lester. So did you.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes I think. Sometimes I think. Huh?
So why do you think I was laughing?
Right. Sometimes I think for the longest time, Lester and I both had a sign on us, sucking in all of the psychos. But I guess the $1 million question is, how do you know? I mean, I know how I know, but how do you know, for our listeners and our watchers, whether someone would be emotionally off balance or spiritually possessed? I mean, in all of my years, I have never met anyone that I found to truly be spiritually possessed. Every one of them that I met ended up being psychologically imbalanced. Anybody?
Which is why most of the Catholic priests are also psychologists.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have studied, and I am not a psychologist, but you have to have studied psychology. Sociology is another real good course to study because you have to have a concept, a conceptual understanding of basic psychology and the games that people play to have a concept before you go in and claiming you're going to be some kind of big bad exorcist. And you're going to jump in there and do the hooga booga and the agga wagga and start beating the tambourines and go, you're cured. No.
No, doesn't work that way. Like you said, most time it's the psychological side that you got to check out first before you can make a determination on exorcism.
Well, yeah. And I mean, cleansing people's homes. Okay, well, cleansing someone's home, I mean, I've met people that have asked me to cleanse their automobile because the damn thing kept breaking down every week. I'm like, your car is 20 years old. You haven't changed the oil in it in 5 years. What makes you think it's not going to break down? You know, shit. Huh?
You need an exorcist. You need a mechanic.
Yeah, you know. Um, Now, I have done cleansing on automobiles, made the individual feel better about it, even though they blew the engine up in it 6 months later. I said, you know, I can't control your dumb ass. I've done cleansings on homes, objects, property. I mean, when we moved here with my parents, one of the requests that they asked was for us, for Cammie and I to do a cleansing on property. Happy to. We did cleansing on property down south almost every weekend. Of course, a lot of the people that came out there, we needed to. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Yep.
But the fact of, huh?
Well, that's like one of my friends. She works at the bank over here. Her friend's house was being haunted and possessed, and I had to do it remotely because I don't know where she was at. But ever since I did my remote, it's been better, and they haven't had any problems.
So let me ask you a question, and I mean no disrespect. Please understand that. Are are we sure that it being better didn't come from what we call sympathetic magic?
Possibly, but when I did my remote, sending my bear over there, there was actual physical confrontations going on over at that house. But when I got the bear there and left him, well, he decided to stay for a couple of days. Uh, whatever was in that house left.
Okay. All right. So if we bring in remote viewing, remote cleansing, out of body experience, um, astral cleansings are interesting. You know, when you think about when you think about time space continuum, you think about the multiple planes that exist and or may well exist at the same time side by side with this one, but a little bit different, right? I mean, I know for myself, I've seen the shadows. Um, thank the gods, I don't see the dead. I feel them, but I don't see them, which is fine with me. One of my um, one of my gifts, stroke curses, is to be able to, but not required to, help someone cross over. Hence, rites of passage. But not everybody has that ability. And if they do, not everybody wants to use it. I don't like using mine.
I don't use mine unless I have to. I mean, unless they've blotted or
Right. But it still comes down to when we're talking about the spirit realm and we're talking about the spirit world, as it were, the, spirit realm, whatever you want to call it. We physically, scientifically speaking, we have no proof of the spirit world. Spiritually speaking, I have all the proof of the spirit world I need. Um, Things I've seen, things I've experienced growing up, um, lights turning on and off with no apparent reason, and being raised by an electrician, being an electrician myself, I know what circuits need to be checked out to see if it's an electrical issue or something else. And it goes back to that old saying, irregardless of how implausible or how impossible something may seem, the fact of the matter is, how do we know that it is plausible or not plausible to begin with?
We don't. Sometimes we got to take it on faith.
Okay. Where does faith come from, though? I mean, we've covered that topic multiple times.
From ourselves.
Right? So, with that being said, does exorcism have to begin with faith? Either the person doing it or the person receiving it.
Yes. It's got to be with their free will.
Yeah.
I truly believe that it takes faith to. I mean, if you don't believe in the process of the exorcism, not have faith in it, it's not gonna work.
But therein lies the whole point. If you don't have faith in what you're doing, period, within your chosen religion, nothing's going to work.
Right.
So is reality not then only 99% perception?
Pretty much in a way, yes.
And I wouldn't go so far as 99%, maybe 95.
Okay, all right. Well, even if we carry 95%, and we go on the definition of exorcism. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. Um, if we go on the definition of exorcism, and we go on the definition of possession, why, and I'm looking for a particular answer, and I'm going to see who will or who can't answer it. Why can't someone excise themselves?
That is a good question.
Everything has a variable. We, right, myself, and you watching or listening to our broadcast, either live or pre-recorded, you to a degree have the ability to excise yourself.
In certain aspects, you can. I
Right.
mean, you can exercise
Well, I mean,
That's
it's like
where,
psychological problems, isn't it? I mean, to a degree, anyone can handle their own psychological issues till it reaches the point where they feel like they're out of control and they need to reach out to, for help.
right. But we're talking the difference between a psychological and a demonic possession. I think when a person is demonically possessed, that they don't have that willpower, that control to be able to exercise themselves.
I think everyone should try.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they do try. I mean, they turn to their faith and try that way. And well, if it's truly a demonic possession, they're not strong enough to do it. And that's where the church intercedes.
Okay. So, in reality, the first thing to acknowledge, accept, and research is whether or not someone is spiritually possessed or psychologically, emotionally unstable.
Right.
And it would take a broadcast a hell of a lot more than an hour for us to explain the difference.
Yeah. We could do a whole thesis on this bad boy.
Oh boy. But to keep it simple and to keep it within our time restraints, simplistically speaking, if you feel you need an exorcism, talk to your healthcare professional, talk to your preacher, your priest, your rabbi, your shaman, your witch, your fae, your whatever,
Spiritual leader.
your spiritual leader, yeah. But talk to them both. Talk to both your spiritual leader and your healthcare professional. I wouldn't necessarily, huh?
Because in that, seeking the help,
Yes,
because then you're taking control of your own situation.
bingo.
If you cannot exercise this demon by yourself, you're seeking help.
Right,
So, in a sense, you are exercising your demon.
of course. And speaking personally, when I started going through my shit, I reached out for help not only to my healthcare professional, but to those of the open pagan church to kind of help me understand what's going on with me emotionally. Because it doesn't make any difference how strong you think you are. And it doesn't make any difference how solid in your religion or your belief you think you are. The first thing you are, above all, the first thing you are that you can't change is you're human. You have a brain, whether or not you may use it. All humans believe in something, even if they believe in nothing. That's believing in something. Even if a human believes there's nothing there, when they die, they rot, they're gone, that's it. That's believing in something. If you feel you are having spirit issues, for lack of a better term, reach out to your religious leader and your healthcare professional I don't recommend you walk into your doctor's office and go, I think I've been depressed. I think I've been, hell, you can't even say it because you don't know if you're depressed. You don't know if you're suffering from anxieties, and you don't know if you've been possessed by some evil spirit. And if you're puking green shit, you need to get to the ER.
Yeah, your bile done busted, buddy.
Right. Now, if you're laying in bed and you can videotape the fact that your bed is hovering and you have no control over it, you need to start calling somebody.
Right.
And it sounds like I'm making light of the subject, but I'm really not. It's a very serious topic. People have died because of health issues when someone else assumed it was just a spiritual issue. If you're experiencing health manifestations, go to your doctor, go to your healthcare professional and get your health checked out. If your health comes back perfectly fine, okay, then you should have a spiritual leader that you can go to and sit down and go, okay, I've been to every healthcare professional I can find. They can't find anything physically wrong, but this, and this is going on. It could be a combination of all the above. It could be self-destruction on your part. It could be external forces on your part.
Aliens!
What?
Aliens!
Yeah, and.
No, aliens!
Alien. Oh, well, leave it to Paul to bring in the aliens.
Uh-huh.
Gotta love you, Paul. There is no specific answer to exorcism other than know yourself well enough and admit if or when you need help. Like we said a while ago, reach out to your spiritual leader, reach out to your healthcare professional. If you feel you are that psychologically imbalanced, there is a suicide hotline that you can call. And in your area, you can call 911 and ask them, tell them you're considering suicide, and they will help you get to the suicide hotline for your area. I'm not saying call 911 if you have a migraine, okay? Let's have a little bit of pre-thought here. Personally, I believe exorcism is real. It's as real as faith. That's a double-edged sword. Anybody else have anything they all want to offer?
Two things.
All right.
Something that was considered to be possession back in the day was dissociative identity disorder.
Right.
In other words, multiple personalities.
Right, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you covered that.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I couldn't remember the actual psychological name for it. Thank you.
Also, if someone was, I'll wait till the thing ends. I don't want to do this on podcast. Go ahead.
All right, is it relevant?
It's kind of it's dark humor, and I don't want to do it on.
Got it. Okay.
Not
All right.
dirty, no.
Okay. Well, all right. So we have our topic for next week, and I'll put together an advertisement on it and get it sent out to all of the social networks. So we're going to start a series next week. And for those of you that may not be watching this live, next week at the time of this broadcast will be July the 11th at 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to start a series called Down the Rabbit Hole.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
We're going to do an entire series of topics that this channel normally would shy away from. So there is a disclaimer that all topics covered under the series of the rabbit hole may not always be the opinion of Open Pagan Church or its members. We'll put that out there right now. But I always want to thank everybody for being here. We definitely appreciate you. And thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time right here on Open Pagan Church. All right, hang on.
We still there?
Hang on.
Reverberates in my ears, it came quietly in a flash. Happy birthday, my heart. Welcome to my new life. All this time you beat in another.
I think OBS locked up.
Yeah, you're still broadcasting.
All right, I gotta go.
All right, bro.
Bones and skin stop resisting. My body innovation is for all
Hang on.
good. All the ones a ceasefire, the parties a keen on war. The fence